All right, it's 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern, and 11 a.m. Pacific on this Sunday, September 7th. I am Wes, the creator and co host and social media manager of the Star Trek podcast called Twin Cities Trekkies, a podcast talking about everything from the original Star Trek all the way to Star Trek Strange New Worlds and everything in between. And this is live episode number 7, talking about season 3, episode 9 of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Terrarium. Before we get started, the live chat is open, so feel free to pop in, say hi, and we will get talking about this episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. To get in touch with us, it is simple. Send us an email at tctrekkiespodcast@gmail.com. Feel free to send us an email with anything you'd like to say. If this episode was one of your favorites, it's actually one of mine now. You can definitely let us know, and I'll glad to read your email on a future episode of this podcast. If you want to leave us a comment on social media, that's perfectly fine as well. The handle for Facebook is TC Trekkies Pod. Instagram is Twin Cities Trekkies Pod, all one word. Or you can find us out on Blue Sky when you search out TC Trekkies and the banner should read Twin Cities Trekkies Podcast. If you want to leave us a comment on Spotify, you can go to the live stream audio version, which will drop on Tuesday. You can leave your comment there, and I'll gladly read your comment there. It takes about 1 day for the comment to reach back to us via an email. But just keep in mind that any emails or comments could be read on a future episode of this podcast. All right. After all that spiel, kit and caboodle, there is nobody there, which is okay. I'm not going to guilt trip anybody this time around. So let's talk about some of the things that are upcoming for Twin Cities Trekkies first. Episode 98 is now out. It dropped on Friday. I talked about the 5 various pitches from the various news outlets that have been coming out about new Star Trek series, such as Legacy, Year One, United, Natalia Newsom comedy, and the one from Aaron Walkie, who is was one of the executive producers of Star Trek Prodigy. So that episode is now out. So I encourage you all to go listen to it. It's about a little over an hour long, talking about those various pitches, and also reviewed season 3, episode 7 of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. What is Starfleet? So I did talk about either one, talked about all of them in one episode, and we will also be. I'm trying to think about what I'm going to do for episode 99. Episode 100 is going to be designated for the. I'm going to talk to the person I want to talk about with, but there's going to be an episode about a tribute to both Michael Piller and Jerry Taylor, who co-created Star Trek Voyager with Rick Berman, and we're going to be celebrating 100 episodes of Star Trek of this podcast by doing a tribute to both of those creators, because they deserve their special treatment, because without Jerry Taylor and Michael Piller especially, Star Trek could have ended shortly after Gene Roddenberry passed away in 1991. So we could definitely have a conversation about that. The person I want to talk to, his name is Lorenzo. He was actually a part of Star Trek itself. He was a part of the last 2 original series films. He was a part of the art department, I believe, for Star Trek 5 and 6. So so we're gonna be talking with him, and he wanted to do it. So I just have to get in touch with him, because I kind of want him on the show soon, so we can do that. So we're getting close to 100 episodes of Twin Cities Trekkies, so that's going to be kind of exciting. My hope is to get to 105 by the end of the year, so at least 105, maybe 110. But I think 110 would be a little bit too crazy, but maybe 105. So I know I said on social media that I've been trying to get a hold of people. We do have a guest lined up for the first week of October. Terry and Audrey, who do the Voidcast. It's a brand new Star Trek podcast. They're TNG fans. They're going through Voyager for the first time, and they're just finished talking about Ex Post Facto. So, which is season 1, episode 7. So, which is actually the one I mentioned in my very favorite episodes list way back in January. But and stuff like that. So we're going to be talking about it's rescheduled, talking about the 30th anniversary of the Best of Both Worlds, both parts probably now, and definitely talk about how everyone, because I don't know if they were around or were got into the whole hype about the Best of Both Worlds when it first premiered in 1990. I was only less than a year old when that happened. So, and before anybody wonders why I'm wearing this Green Bay Packers stuff, is because I'm a Green Bay Packers fan. Their season starts today at Lambeau Field, later on this afternoon when they play against the Detroit Lions. So I have a custom-made cheese hat with my name on it, and I'm wearing the Go Pack Go shirt. And I've been a Green Bay Packer fan for about 15 years. So, and I'm trying to be more on par with my father's side of the family. My father's side of the family is all originally from Eau Claire, Wisconsin. So, yeah, my grandparents were big Packer fans. My uncles are, and so like that. It was really interesting growing up as a Vikings fan, Minnesota Vikings fan, and having whenever the Vikings and Packers played, it would be interesting to talk about. It'd be interesting to like watch those games when I was a kid. I mean, we had yeah. I don't know if you can hear that, but my robot vacuum is running right now. But that's the way I'm dressed today. I'm trying to cheer on the Packers, so go Pack go later on today against Detroit. So if you're ever interested in football, it's at 3:25 Central Time on CBS. So or streaming on Paramount Plus if you're in most of the country. Actually, I found out most of the country except for areas around Los Angeles and around Houston, because the LA Rams play against the Houston Texans today. So they play each other at the same time as Green Bay and Detroit. So I look ridiculous wearing this thing. But hey, I'm trying to support my Packers. So go Pack go. All right. Well, I guess this is the first Sunday where I'm going to have nobody to talk to. That's okay. We'll keep this live stream going. So let's talk about Terrarium, which was the next episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, season 3, episode 9. And it was written by Alan McElroy and directed by Andrew Kutz. Now, after last week's episode, 4.5 Vulcans, I was going like, do I really want to watch more Star Trek Strange New Worlds? I actually was questioning that. And I was going like, you know what? It's Star Trek, and there will be blunders from time to time. And last week's episode was definitely a blunder. A very big blunder. And I thought maybe the show couldn't recover from that particular blow regarding 4.5 Vulcans. Because while I did like certain aspects of that episode of Strange New Worlds, it was very insulting to very many people, including myself. Like I said in last week's live stream, I went into it with not an open mind, and I don't regret that because um, knowing how insulting it was, and then watching it for myself, I can see where many people got insulted by it, and I'm speaking that as a cisgendered white man. So, and I will freely admit that I have white privilege, but I'm a white cisgendered man who gives a shit. So, but gives a damn. But I just wanted to say that because while there were some good aspects of it, like Doug, for example, Doug the Vulcan, and some other aspects of it were okay, like Pike being an eccentric jerk while being Vulcan. But it was very insulting, and I hope that the series could recover from this particular blow, because if it hadn't, I can see a lot of people rage quitting Strange New Worlds and start being some of those gatekeepers on social media who said, well, you're stupid, blah, blah, blah. Star Trek as well, blah, blah, blah. All those people who have hated on the Kurtzman era since the beginning in 2017. It's ridiculous. I mean, because those people have a certain political ideology. The people who do hate the Kurtzman era have a certain, at least the ones I've encountered on social media, have a certain political ideology. And it just makes absolutely no sense that they've had that particular political ideology and watched Star Trek, because it is definitely against that particular political ideology. But watching this new episode, Terrarium, which is an interesting title for the episode, because a terrarium is a group of ants. It's an ant farm, in the real life sense. It's actually very interesting that this whole episode was made, because if everybody doesn't remember, this is a remake of Enemy Mine, which is a 1985 film with Dennis Quaid, and sci-fi film. And Star Trek has remade this story twice before, for their own franchise, for the Star Trek franchise. The first one was The Enemy back in 1989 for the Next Generation's third season, in which Geordi and a Romulan Centurion named Bakra have to work together to escape Galordan Core. Because and there's a lot of other things happening on that episode that are really interesting. They have two Romulan survivors. One of them's Bakra, the other one is critically injured, and Worf decides to not help him because he has ribosomes that could help him recover. And he goes through this moral crisis of should he help his Romulan counterpart after his parents were killed at Khitomer, and the Romulan himself says, I'd rather die than be poisoned by Klingon filth. So that's the first Enemy Mine type episode of Star Trek. The other one is from Enterprise, which premiered 14 years later, which had Trip Tucker and an alien on a deserted planet where it gets really hot during the daytime and really cold at night. It's one of those extreme planets where it's like hot at night and cold, hot during, extremely hot, hazardous for humanoids during the day, and dangerous cold at night. So he and his alien companion have to work together to rescue each other and return them to their respective ships. So this was an episode that was kind of like those two. But there are differences to all three. This is the most recent one. A wormhole opens up when the Enterprise decides to map out a gravimetric area and pulls Eric Ortega's in to this moon, which she crash lands the shuttle, and and has to deal with a Gorn female. Um, and it's kind of like that. And they eventually try to communicate with each other because Erica Ortegas puts together a makeshift universal translator that could always say agree or disagree to what Erica was saying to the Gorn. I mean, granted, if Uhura was with her, she would have made it better, and they probably could have talked to each other in English. But the episode is very good. It's very good. Melissa Navia delivers a fantastic performance as Erica Ortegas. This is her show, and the two of them coming to grips with each other, trying to escape the planetoid before it collapses into this gas giant, this moon. And it's kind of really interesting to have this makeshift universal translator because it also invokes Darmok from the Next Generation, the powerful fifth season episode in which Picard has to deal with the Terrarians, and the Terrarian captain and him have to come to an understanding, and they eventually do by they talk about they cite examples, cites metaphor. That's the way they talk to each other. And that's the same kind of thing that happened with this episode, with all the growling and stuff like that. The universal translator could lock on and say, okay, agree or disagree, and stuff like that. The only downside to this episode were two things. One, when La'an being down to the moon to rescue Ortegas, she saw the Gorn and immediately shot and killed her. I understand that she probably didn't know what was going on beforehand. It was kind of like a shoot first, ask later. It was like a shoot first, ask questions later kind of moment. But it was still not justified to kill the Gorn. I'm anticipating some kind of conflict between her and between La'an and Ortegas, probably in the season finale, which airs next week, this upcoming Thursday, or down the line. And I can see a physical fight between those two. I also can, and the other thing that was kind of predictable was it was kind of like Arena, in which a Metron came and told Erica Ortegas, we were testing you, and stuff like that. They were testing them, and they said, we don't think you are worthy of contact right now. We're going to wipe your memory, and you can remember the Gorn that you were with, but not us. Which kind of solves the canon problem, because this was technically the first contact between humans and Metrons, even though Metrons and humans did eventually re-see each other 6 years later, or at least 5-6 years later, with Captain Kirk. So, and the Gorn captain. So, it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen from that. But that kind of resolves the Arena issue. And I did see something on social media about that, saying that this moon actually does crash into the gas giant and becomes the what Captain Kirk and the Gorn captain fight in Arena. So I can live with that headcanon, and that's what Alan McElroy, the author of the episode, said too. So this is actually my second favorite episode of the season, behind Wedding Bell Blues, and the Sailor Who Ate Its Tail. But this is definitely an episode that is worth watching. It is a very great showcase of Melissa Navia's acting, and also gives Erica Ortegas a chance to shine because we have seen very little of her in this series. I mean, one of the things I really wanted in the series was a triumvirate of of Spock, Pike, and Una, which has not materialized. And I hope that we got to know a little bit more about the secondary characters like Lon and Erica Ortegas and so and other characters on the series on the Starship Enterprise. And we've gotten that now. We have had a backstory for both Chapel and Mbenga in the episode Under the Cloak of War. We also have had, which was followed up somewhat in Shuttle to Kenfori this season. We also have had a backstory for La'an in Memento Mori from the first season. And also we now have more character development for Erica Ortegas with this episode, Terrarium. I personally don't like the title of the episode, but that's irrelevant because Terrarium is an ant farm. But I mean, if you're comparing Ortegas and the Gorn female to ants, that's a little bit weird, but it's not detracting. But so the episode for me is one of my favorites. It's a great character piece. I wish they hadn't remade Enemy Mine again for Star Trek. That's first and foremost. I mean, there are differences between all three. There are differences, but they're so subtle. But I mean, if I had to choose between all three, I'd choose the one for the Next Generation, the Enemy. So, but this is out of the 3 Enemy Mine episodes, the Enemy, Terrarium, and Dawn. So that's how I'm going to rank those 3. So to me, the episode is a 5 out of 5 because it showcases Erica Ortegas, which we haven't had much at all in Strange New Worlds. The episode is great because it's dealing with her trauma that she'd experienced during the first episode of the season, Hegemony Part 2. And it has a resolution somewhat to that, but I'm anticipating somewhat friction between her and La'an as we move forward regarding this incident. So that's what my personal opinion of what's going to happen, because I'm anticipating some kind of a physical fight, but I'm also anticipating a shouting match. So I'm hoping that it doesn't happen either way, but I think I'm anticipating somewhat of a physical fight because, it's conflict. And, these are not perfect humans, unlike the Next Generation was, and, during the first couple of years. So, anywho, Terrarium gets a 5 out of 5 from me. Obviously, the best highlight point of the season, definitely. Before we wrap things up, I want to mention a few things. One, I want to appreciate Jace and Ed, who on Captain's Quadrant on Friday night had shouted me out a few times. So thank you very much for that. And I just want to let you guys know that I want to express my condolences to Joe, the main guy behind Captain's Quadrant, who lost his mom on Labor Day. I just wanted to say I'm personally sorry for your loss. I can't fathom losing your parent like that, and and I'm glad you got this. I'm glad you got to be with her when she passed, but you got to see her, not in her best, but I mean, rest in peace, Mama Dove. So I just wanted to say that personally, as a friend of yours, Joe. And I love your show and stuff like that. Hearing about your mom passing away, so it's kind of sad. The GoFundMe is on our Facebook page. for his funeral fundraiser. Go check that out. Last time I heard, it's about 72% complete of an $8,000 goal. So keep them coming with the donations, because I know that any little bit can help him out, and because I know he would totally love your support. So next week, next Sunday, September 14th, we will do the next live stream of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, talking about the season finale, the season finale, New Life and New Civilizations. When this episode's title was first revealed, everyone thought this was going to be the series finale of Strange New Worlds. No, it's not. We have season 5 is currently filming for a fifth and final season of 6 episodes, and I'm anticipating the series finale title will be To Boldly Go, not New Life and New Civilizations. But that's my title hopes for season 5, episodes 5 and 6, or whatever it's going to be. But I'm looking forward to knowing how this is all going to resolve itself and stuff like that. So New Life and New Civilizations is the last episode of season 3 of Strange New Worlds, premiering on Thursday on Paramount Plus, and on Friday, and on Sky Showtime in a few weeks. We will do a live stream probably the following week as well, on the 21st, to wrap up season 3 of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. About Star Trek Con, which is going to start premiering tomorrow, Star Trek Day. Happy Star Trek Day out there. We will not be doing anything for Star Trek Day, but because that's tomorrow. But we can definitely do an episode for Star Trek Day if we wanted to, but we're not going to. But so Star Trek Con starts streaming tomorrow on your favorite podcast platform. I'm still trying to figure out if I want to do live streams for that. Live stream reviews, only do like 3 of those, talking about 1 through 3, 4 through 6, and 7 through 10, 7 through 9, excuse me, because it's a 9-episode podcast miniseries. And there are hopes that it could be leading to more audio dramas, because it reminds me of the old audio books from the back in the day, where it's just an adventure story, because there's a few of those like that, especially with Captain Sulu, and it had George Takei in them. So I'm looking forward to listening to Star Trek Con, not just because of I did start reading Greg Cox's Terrain in Hell prequel, which was the third of his Eugenics Wars books. But now it's going to be fun to see what they come up with, because it's kind of like a Captain Sulu miniseries too, because the framing story is set during the years of the Excelsior. So it's going to be interesting to see that. I'm looking forward to listening to it. I'm looking forward to listening to what they come up with for this. I'm not sure how I'm going to review this yet, but I will let you guys know on social media. And I'm looking forward to listening to 3 people on that show: Tim Russ as Tuvok, George Takei as Captain Sulu, and Ren Schmidt as Marla Guyvers. Ren Schmidt, she is no stranger to science fiction, having played Margot Madison in Ronald D. Moore's For All Mankind, which is a fantastic science fiction show. It's on Apple TV. It has 4 seasons. A 5th season is in development, and a spinoff too. So, but if you want to have a show to watch while you wait for Starfleet Academy, go watch For All Mankind. Go watch For All Mankind. Go watch other science fiction shows. I mean, I've heard a lot of good things about Alien Earth. I've heard a lot of good things about other science fiction shows that are out there. So if you want an episode, like something to hold you over science fiction wise until Starfleet Academy comes out in early 2026, go watch either one of those shows, like Alien Earth, For All Mankind. And that's my suggestion to you. Anywho, We will be back next Sunday at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time to talk about the season finale of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. So until next Sunday, take care and live long and prosper. Go, Pack, go.